Hey, good morning, Spearhead. It's a Monday morning. I'm here in my office, just left the motor pool. And of course, the one thing that's on everybody's mind is the virus, the COVID-19 virus that's kind of seemingly shut our country down, and a lot of other parts of the world are even worse than we are, apparently. Most of the soldiers that I talk to, they're not really scared. They think it's kind of weird. A lot of them are joking about it. There's a little bit of nervousness, but I think they're just pressing on with the mission, which is what we're trained to do. So maybe there's not an element of fear in the soldiers that I talk to, at least, but I think maybe a lot of our family members, maybe we've got elderly grandparents or a family member who's sick, has a compromised immune system, and we're worried about them, or they're worried about their own condition. And I just want to take a couple of minutes to kind of help you think about, from a Christian perspective, how to put some of those fears at ease based on what God's Word says. So 2 Timothy 1:7 says that God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. So how do I apply what God's Word says? If I'm nervous about this virus, how do I just shut that nervousness off? And I don't know that it's that easy, but I think from a scriptural perspective, one of the things that you have to do if you're going to be convinced that God has got this and that God is going to take care of you despite all of the stuff that's going on around us is that we have to remind ourselves of what God's done in the past. And throughout, from the Old Testament all the way through the New Testament, the entire Bible, over and over and over, God has proven His faithfulness to His people through times of war, through times of famine, poverty, plague, all kinds of maladies. And obviously this virus is in that category or in that list. God has provided and protected His people. And so once we begin to familiarize ourselves with who He is and what He's done, it begins to kind of transform the reality in our minds to where we really begin to see that He is able to do the things that He says He'll do, despite the fact that we're under, stay-at-home orders, quarantine, seclusion, lockdown, all those things that have been recommended. So I want us to be convinced from God's Word and let that determine what our reality is and what our mindset is. And I think when we share that with people that we love, when we point them in that direction, that's how we help them overcome the fear as well. Now, one of the interesting things about the verse is it also says we have been given a sound mind. So does that mean we ignore warnings and we don't care what the doctors say? Of course not. God has given us wisdom. The doctor says you need to wash your hands a couple more times a day and not stand so close in formation and not get in large groups where people might spread the germs or the virus. Then that's what we need to do. That's sound, using your sound mind and the wisdom of people who know a lot more about this whole situation than we do. So be smart, but get into God's Word, see where He has proven Himself over and over, and let that determine your reality. And then encourage people around you who might be struggling with anxiety, fear, worry, even panic about this disease, and remind them of how faithful God is. So hope that encourages you a little bit. I'd love to talk to you in person if you have more questions. But on a Monday morning, thanks for stopping by Spearhead Spiritual Assault.